Good afternoon everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the computer organization subject unit 4. So coming to the topic, so this is the topic modes of transfer. So what is mean by modes of transfer? So data transfer. So modes of transfer is nothing but the data transfer to and from. The data transfer to and from peripherals may be handled in one of three possible modes. So what is mean by modes of transfer? The data transfers to and from peripherals may be handled in one of three possible modes. So this is called the modes of transfer. In this having three possible modes, that is programmed input output, interrupt initialized input output, direct memory access DMA. So these are the three types of modes available in the modes of transfer. So what is mean by programmed input output? So programmed input output method is particularly useful in small low speed computers. For example, data transfer from so here in this having the diagram. So here data transfer from input output devices through the interface into the CPU is in this diagram. Okay, so what is mean by programmed input output? It is mainly useful in small low speed computers, low speed computers. Its example is data will be transferred from input output devices through an interface into the CPU. So this is called the programmed input output. So I have the brief explanation about this diagram. So this is the diagram of programmed input output, which is represented here. So that is having the CPU and interface and input output devices. In the interface I having the data register and status register. In the status register, one part I having the flag bit. Okay, so between that two CPU and input devices, I having some lines, that is data bus, address bus, input output read and input output write between the CPU and the interface. Between the interface and the input output devices, I have the input output bus, data valid, data accepted. So this is the actual diagram I am having here. So I am going to explain this briefly. So the device transfer, the devices, so the input devices means what? Here I having the at the right side I having the input output devices. The devices transfer bytes. So what the input output devices do? It transfers the bytes one at a time as they are available. When a byte of data is valuable, when a byte of data is valuable, so the device places in the input output bus and enables its data valid line. So the interface accepts the byte into one register, into data register. So what the interface does? The interface accepts the byte into the data register. In the middle having the interface and data register. So whenever the interface accepts that data byte, that will be into the data register and enables the data accepted line. The interface sets a bit, that is flag or F bit. So in this status register, so the device can now disable the data valid line, but it will not transfer another byte until the data accepted line is disabled by the interface. Okay, so a program is written in the computer to check the flag in the check the flag in the status register. So whatever the programs we are writing in the computer, that mainly written for checking the flag in the status register to determine if the byte has been placed in the data register by the input output devices. So this is done by reading the status register into the CPU register and checking the value of the flag bit. So if the flag is equal to 1, the CPU reads. If the flag is equal to 1, so here in the status register I having the flag bit, I provide the flag bit as a equal to 1. So the CPU reads the data from the data register. If the value is 1 in the flag bit, the CPU will be reads the data from the data register, the flag bit is clear to 0. So whenever I provided that flag bit as a 1, so this flag bit is clear to 0 by either the CPU or the interface. Once the flag is cleared, the interface disables the data accepted line and the device can then transfer the next data byte. Okay, so this is the main explanation of this programmed input output. Okay, so I having a small flow chart regarding this programmed input output. See, this is the flow chart. So this is the main flow chart we are having. This is the flow chart for CPU programming to input data. So what we are having in this transfer, that the transfer of each byte requires 3 instructions. We are following some 3 instructions. First instruction is read the status register, and second one is check the flag bit status of the flag bit and branch to step 1. If not set or to set step 3 if set. Okay, so third one is read the data register. So these are the 3 instructions we are going to required to transfer. Okay, so now I am going to explain. So already we told that point which is explained now only. So whenever I adjust flag value as a 1 or 0, so here data register and check flag bit. So data register, read the data register. After that in the data register, what we are doing, the CPU will be read the data from the data register. The CPU will be read the data from the data register, and after that the flag is fixed to the values 0 or 1. We are providing 2 conditions in the flag, that is 0 or 1. If the condition is 0, again the repetition, again the occurrence will be same steps will be, same instructions will be followed. First 2 steps, like it means it will be moves to the first step, that is read the data register. If the condition is 0, if condition is 1, then it will be read the status register. It will be read the status register in the interface, and it will be transfer the data to memory. After reading the status register, the data will be transferred to the memory. If the transmission, okay, if the condition is 1, we are going to read the status register, and after reading the status register, it will be transferred to the memory. Okay, after transferring the memory, the operation will be if the operation is completed, the complete operation is completed. If it is S, it will be continue with the program. If the operation is not completed, it will be no, it will be goes to the first step, that is read the data register. So this is the main working of this flow chart of the programmed input output. Okay, so next coming to interrupt initialized. So what is mean by interrupt initialized input output? So why we are using this interrupt initialized? So programmed input output is a time consuming process. So why we are using this programmed input output? It is mainly used for consuming the process. So in order to keep the CPU on a busy state, to introduce an interrupt. So why we are using the programmed input output time in input output, in order to consume the time process. Okay, so we are keeping the CPU in busy state, and we are introducing the interrupt and special commands to inform the interface to issue an interrupt request. So in order to keep the CPU in a busy state, so we have to keep the CPU in busy state. After that, we are going to introduce the interrupt and some commands. Okay, we are going to issue some interrupt and special commands in order to inform that interface to issue an interrupt request signal to CPU when data are available from the device. So in the meantime, the CPU can proceed to execute another program. The CPU can proceed to execute another program. So when the device is ready for data transfer, okay, so it generates the interrupt request. Okay, after generating the interrupt request, so request to the computer when there is a external interrupt. When there is an external interrupt signal is generated, the CPU will be stops. The CPU will be stops, okay, will stops the execution of the original program, and branches to service the program to process the input output transfer and then returns back to the original program. Okay, so the CPU responds to the interrupt signal. The CPU responds to the interrupt signals by storing the return address from program counter into the memory stack and then control the branches to the service routine that process the required input output transfer. Okay, so this is the mean of interrupt initialized input output. So I having the issued read command to input output module. So what is mean do something else, CPU input output. Okay, so next we are having the after this completion I am introducing. So what I am keeping, CPU will be kept in the busy state. After I am introducing the interrupt here. So interrupt valve will be to this interrupt will interrupt, and I'm issuing some special commands. Okay, so this special commands is to inform the interface. It informs the interface. Interface to issue the interrupt request and signal to the CPU. And after this processing is completed, read status of input output module, and it check the status. If the condition is error, it will be stop here. If it is ready, it will be moved to read out word from the input output module. After reading the word from the input output module, it will be write the word into the memory. Okay, so whenever it reads the input output module, it will be input output to it will be moved to the CPU. After it writes the word into the memory, it will be went into the CPU and it will be passes to the memory, stored into the memory. After it is completed, it is done, it will be goes to the next instruction. If it is not done, it will be moved to the first instruction, that is first step, that is issues read command to input output module. So this is the process of interrupt initialized input output. Okay, so the way the processor choose the branch address of the service routine varies from one unit to another. So there are two methods of using this, that is vectored interrupt and non-vectored interrupt. So what is mean by vectored interrupt? So in a vectored interrupt, the source that interrupt supplies the branch information to the computer. This information is called the interrupt vector. So that is next coming to second one, non-interrupt vector, vectored interrupt. So in a non-vectored interrupt, the branch address is assigned to fixed location in memory. Okay, so this is called the two things which is available in the processor, that is vectored interrupt, vectored interrupt. Okay, next coming to priority interrupt. So what is mean by priority interrupt? A priority interrupt is a system that establishes a priority over the various sources to determine which condition is to be serviced first when two or more requests arrive simultaneously. So devices with a high speed transfer, such as magnetic disk and are given high priority. The magnetic disk is given high priority and it slows the devices such as keyboard and receive low priority. Keyboards receive low priority. So a polling procedure, here we having polling. The polling procedure is used to identify the highest priority source. Okay, here we having the polling. This polling procedure is used to identify the highest priority source. So this is the priority interrupt. In the priority interrupt, I have two methods, that is the software and hardware. So software is nothing but polling. So now only I told that polling is what is mean by polling. Polling is a procedure which is used to identify the highest priority source, that is called the polling. Next, the second one is the hardware. So in the hardware I have two types, that is Desi Cheney, parallel priority. So what is mean by Desi Cheney priority? So first one is a that is I am going to explain that. So the Desi Cheney method of establishment priority consists of a serial connections. So what we are having in the Desi chaining method, okay, Desai chaining, in the Desai chaining method of establishing priority consists of this P1, P0, P1, P0, these are the priorities. So Desi chaining. So between that every devices we are having the chain connection. So this Desi chaining method of establishing the priority consisting of serial connection, of all devices that request to interrupt all the devices. So this is one device 1, device 2, device 3. These three devices are going to provide the interrupt request, okay, request and interrupt. So the device with the highest priority, is placed in the first position. So the device which has the highest priority, that will be placed in the first position, the followed by the lower priority devices up to the device with the lowest priority, which is placed last in the chain, okay. So this is the first one, this is the last one. So device 1 is the first priority, I provided in the first position, okay. Next device 3 is a last low priority, I provided in the last, okay, I set up in the last. The interrupt request, the interrupt, here having the interrupt request, the interrupt request line is common to all the devices. So the interrupt request is common to all the device 1, device 2, device 3, three devices are having, the interrupt line is common to all, the interrupt request is common to all the devices, okay, and forms the wide logic connection, and form the wide logic connection, okay. And if any device has its interrupt signal, if any device has its interrupt signal in the low level state, the interrupt line goes to the low level, state and enables the interrupt input in the CPU. So when no interrupts are pending, the interrupt line stays. There is no pending in the interrupt. The interrupt line stays in the high level state, and no interrupts are recognized by the CPU. Okay, the CPU response. This is the at the last having the CPU. So this is the int and intact. Okay, so the CPU responds to the interrupt request. So whenever the request came from the interrupt request is came to the CPU, it responds to the interrupt request by enabling the interrupt acknowledgement line. So having the interrupt acknowledgement, through this interrupt acknowledgement line, it will be the CPU will be respond to the through the interrupt acknowledgement to the devices. Okay, so the device 1. So what you are doing, the CPU responds to the interrupt request by enabling the interrupt acknowledgement line. The signal is received by the device 1 at the P1 priority in the input. Okay, so the acknowledgement signal passes to the next device through the PO. So after that it moves to the P1. After that it moves to the PO. PO sends to again other device. Okay, this like so the acknowledgement moves to the every devices which is available in the in this chain. Okay, so the acknowledgement signal passes to the next device through the PO and priority output. So this is PI is the priority input, PO is the priority output. Okay, it moves to the priority input to output to only if the device 1. So it is not requesting to the an interrupt. So if device 1 has pending interrupt, pending interrupt, it blocks the acknowledgement. So in the other device, I have get the interrupt acknowledgement to the device 1. Okay, so if there is any pending interrupt, it blocks the acknowledgement signal from the next device. By placing a 0 in the PO output, it then proceeds to insert its own interrupt vector address into the data bus for the CPU to use during the interrupt cycle. Okay, so in this a device with a 0, if the device with a 0 in its P1, at the P1 I am providing the in the device in this device at the P1 I am providing the value PI, I am providing the value 0 input a PI input at the side of PI input I am providing the 0. So it generates at a it generates the 0 at PO, okay, output, okay. PO means output, to inform the next lower priority device that acknowledge the signals being blocked. So a device that is requesting an interrupt, a device that is requesting an interrupt and has a 1 in its PI input will interrupt the acknowledgement signal by placing the 0 in the in its PO output. If the device does not have pending interrupts, it transmits the acknowledgement signal to the next device by placing a 1 in the 1 in its P output, PO output. So the device with a P1 PI is equal to 1 and PO is equal to 0 is the one with the highest priority, that is requesting an interrupt. So and this device is and this device place its interrupt interrupt vector address vector address on the data bus. So the they say chain arrangement gives the highest priority to the device that receives the interrupt acknowledgement signal from the CPU. Okay, so the device sets its RF flip flop when it wants to interrupt the CPU. Okay, so if P is P output PO is equal to 0, both PO and the enable line to vector address are equal to 0 irrespective of the value of RF, irrespective of the value is RF. So if PI is 1 and RF is equal to 0, then PO is equal to 1. The vector address is disabled. This condition passes the acknowledgement signal to the next device through PO. Okay, so the device is active when PI is equal to 1 and RF is equal to 1. So okay, so this is the main explanation of this Desi chain priority interrupt. Okay. So this is the chain in the parallel priority. What is mean by parallel priority interrupt? Okay, next one is a parallel priority interrupt. So what is mean by parallel priority interrupt? So in this parallel priority interrupt method uses the interrupt register. So in the parallel priority interrupt method uses the interrupt register whose bits okay interrupt here having this is the parallel. So this is the this is consists of parallel priority. This parallel priority interrupt method uses the interrupt register whose bits are separately by the interrupt signals. Interrupt signals separates the interrupt signals from each device. So priority is establishing according to the position of the bits in the register. Okay, so priority now this priority is establishing according to the position of the bits in the register. Mask register. So what is here you having the mask. This is at the downside of the interrupt register having the mask. So this is the mask register. The mask register purpose is to control the status of the each interrupt request. It controls the status of each interrupt request. The mask register can be programmed to disable the lower priority interrupts while the highest priority devices is being serviced. It can also provide a facility that allows a high priority device to interrupt the CPU while a lower priority device being serviced. So in this each interrupt bit and its corresponding mask bit, each interrupt bit, this is the interrupt bit. So at the interrupt register having the this is the interrupt bit. Okay, so this is the interrupt bit and its corresponding mask bit. So interrupt bit here 0 having, corresponding bit also 0 having. So what is the each interrupt bit and its corresponding mask bit are applied to the AND gate to produce the 4 inputs and to produce the 4 inputs. Okay, 4 inputs to the priority encoder Okay, in this way an interrupt is recognized only of its corresponding mask bit is set to 1 by the program. Okay, so in if IEN, here I having the IEN and IEN and IST, this both if both IEN and IST are equal to 1, the CPU goes to, so the CPU goes to interrupt cycle, the CPU goes to interrupt cycle, and the priority encoder generates 2 bits. The priority, this is the priority encoder, so this priority encoder generates 2 bits of the vector address which is transferred to the CPU. Okay, so next coming to main working of priority encoder. So in the priority encoder, the x in the table designated don't care, the x in the table designated as don't care. Okay, so the x in the table, so in the table having the x, it will be indicate the don't care condition. Okay, so input IO, where is the input IO here? So this is input IO having, so I0 here, so the input IO has the highest priority, the input IO has the highest priority. So regardless of the value of the other inputs, regardless of the value of the other inputs, when this input is 1, when the input is 1, the output generates and the output generates an output xy is equal to 0, output xy is equal to 0. If I1 means this one I1, so input this is the input IO, this is I1, so here the I1 has the next priority level, the output of 0 1, the output of 0 1, if I1 is equal to 1, so regardless this value of the other two lower priority inputs, the outputs for I2 is generated only if higher priority inputs are 0, and so on down the priority level. So in this having the table, this is the table of the priority encoder truth table. So this is the input and this is the output and boolean functions. So I0, I1, I2, I3. Okay, so the interrupt status IST is set only when one or more inputs are equal to 1. If the inputs are 0, IST. Okay, na? So here I having the IST. Okay, the IST is clear to 0 and the other outputs are encoder encoder are not used, so they are marked with don't care conditions. This is because the vector address is not transferred to the CPU when IST is equal to 1. So this is the conditions I having. Input 1, I am providing 1, so these are the I1, I2, I3 is the nothing will be having. Okay, so this is the cross position, so this is nothing, so this is the highest priority, IO is in highest priority. After IO becomes 0 and I1 become the highest priority. After that these are the zeros, it becomes the I2 becomes the 1, and this like all will be become the ones. After that all gets the 0. So xy conditions are 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1, and these are the conditions we are taking. So whenever 0 0 I have, it will be 1, 0 1 means 1, 1 0 also 1, 1 1 means 1. So if don't be provided into, so nothing will be provided 0. So this is the x values IO and I1 and y is equal to IO I1 plus I1 and I2. So this like IST formula is I0 plus I2 plus I1 plus I2 plus I3. So this is the boolean functions. This is the priority encoder truth table. So next coming to the direct memory access, direct DMA. DMA means what? Direct memory access. So what is mean by direct memory access? Removing the CPU from the path and letting the peripheral devices manage the memory buses directly would improve the speed of transfer. This transfer technique is called direct memory access. So peripheral devices means what? Keyboard, mouse, this like, okay, CPU, these are comes under the peripheral devices. By removing the CPU from the path and peripheral devices manages the memory buses directly to improve the speed of the transfer. So this transfer technique is called the direct memory access. So I having the diagram here. So in this diagram, during the DMA transfer, transfer. What is mean by DMA transfer here? Direct memory access transfer. The CPU here having the CPU. This is the so this in this diagram having the CPU here at the middle. So high impedance disable when BG is enabled. So this is in this this is the CPU. Okay, so in this is in the CPU. So during DMA, during direct memory access transfer, the CPU is ideal and has no control of memory buses. So in the middle of this diagram having the CPU. So this CPU is in ideal state and is doesn't has no control of the memory buses. Okay, so a direct memory access controller takes over the buses to manage the transfer directly between the input output devices and memory. Okay, input output devices and memory. The bus request, BR means what? This is the bus request. Here have the left side having the bus request. So the bus request in the shortcut what we are writing BR. This is the input. Bus request input is used in direct memory access controller to request the CPU to relinquish control of buses, control of buses. Okay, so in this uh, so when this input is active, when the input is active, when the input means which one? When the input is active, input means BR. So BR means what? Bus register. So the input is active, the CPU terminates the execution. If it is active, the CPU will be terminates the terminates the execution of the current instructions and places the address bus the address bus the data address bus the data bus and the read and write lines into the high impedance state. The data bus read and write are the high impedance state. The CPU is active. Whenever the input is active, the CPU will be terminates the execution of the current instructions and place the address bus, and remaining data bus read and write are the lines which is the which has the high impedance state. So if the CPU is active, the bus grant BG means bus grant output. BG is the bus grant output to inform the external direct memory access that the buses are in the high impedance state. So the DMA that originated by bus request, it disables the bus request line. The CPU disables the bus transfer. Bus grant takes control of the bus and returns to its normal operation. The transfer can be made in several ways. So next, DMA burst transfer. DMA means direct memory access burst transfer. So what is mean this? So a block sequence consisting of a number of memory words is transformed in a continuous burst while the DMA controller is master of the memory buses. So this is called the DMA burst transfer. Next is cycle stealing. In it allows the DMA, it allows the direct memory access. It allows the direct memory access controller to transfer on data a word at the time. So after which it must return control of the bus to the CPU. So in this this is called the cycle stealing. Next, having the DMA controller. So what is mean by DMA controller? The unit communication with the CPU via data bus. The unit communication with the CPU via data bus and control lines. The register in the DMA are selected by the CPU. The register in the DMA selected by the CPU through the address bus by enabling the DS and RS. So DS and RS. So DS means DMA, direct memory access select. RS means register select inputs. Okay na. So the register in the DMA are selected by the CPU through the address bus by enabling the DMA select and register select inputs. The RD means read and write inputs are bidirectional. The CPU initializes the DMA. The CPU, okay, bidirectional. So the DMA controller has three registers. The DMA controller has three register: an address register, a word count register, and a control register. In the DMA controller, we are having the three registers: address register, word count register, and control registers. So what is mean by address register? The address register contains an address to specify the desired location in the memory. The address register, what is mean by address register? The address register contains the address to specify the desired location in memory. The address bits go through bus buffers into the address bus. The address register is incremented after each word that is transferred to memory. So that is called address register. Next, the second one is a word count register. The word count register holds the number of words to be transformed, and this register is decremented by one after each word transfer and internally tested for 0, and this is called the word count register. Next one, control register. The control register specifies mode of transfer. So these are the three DMA controllers, three registers of the DMA controller. So next, the CPU initializes the direct memory access by sending the following information through the data bus. So the CPU initializes the direct memory access by sending the following information through the bus. The starting address of the memory block. The starting address of the memory blocks where the data available or where data are not to be stored. Data is available for read, and where data are to be stored for write. Okay, for read and write. And the word count, here having the word count. So the word count which is a number, which is the number of words in the memory. Word count register, the word count which is the number of words in the memory block, and control to specify the mode of transfer. Such as read or write. A control to start the DMA transfer. So this is the diagram having. So in this diagram having the address bus and data bus buffer, that is data bus, and these are the interrupt buses. At the middle I having the interrupt bus. Okay, so at the middle I have the interrupt bus. This is the address bus buffer. And I having at the starting I having the address. Starting address of the memory block, where memory block where the data are available for read and write. Read, and where the data is stored, that is write. At the read we are going to data will be available. Store means data will be available in storing, right? Okay, so word count, here I having the word count, so which is the number of words in the memory block. Okay, and so I already explained about this address register, word count register, and control register. They are the three registers which is available in the DMA controller. So okay, now only explained about this address register. What is mean by address register? It's specified for a desired location in the memory. The address bus go through the address bus. So this is the address. So the address bits. The address bits go through the bus buffer. The address bits goes to the bus buffer. Into the address bus, the address register. Where is address? This is the address register. The address register is incremented after each word. Okay, so it will be incremented after each word that is transferred to the memory. Okay, so next we are having the word count register. So it holds the number of words. What the use of this word count register? It holds the number of words to be transferred. This register is decremented one after each word transfer and internally tested for 0. Okay, this is the word count. Next, control register specifies the mode of transfer. So this is the three things which we are going to use in the DMA controllers. Okay, this is registers. Okay, next coming to, so in this having the another diagram. So this is the diagram of DMA, another DMA. So here this is the interrupt CPU, RAM, DMA input output devices. So transfer. So when the peripheral devices, so this is the CPU, RAM input, or these are the peripheral devices. So the peripheral devices sends the DMA, the request. The peripheral devices sends the request to DMA controller, activates the BR, activates the BR. So BR, so bus request, BR line informing the CPU, BR line informing the CPU to relinquish the buses, informing the CPU to relinquish the buses. So when the peripheral devices sends, here we are, this is the peripheral device. It sends the sends a DMA request. Okay, the DMA controller activates the bus register line informing the CPU to the buses. Okay, the CPU responds with BG with this. The CPU will be response with this. So this is the BR. Okay, so the CPU. So first point is this is the peripheral devices sends the DMA request to request. The DMA controller activates the BR. This is the BR here. BR means what? Bus request. Okay, line informing to the CPU, informing to the CPU, and CPU to relinquish the buses. Here the CPU responds with BG, responds with BG line. BG means what? Bus grant line informing the DMA that its buses are disabled. The DMA then puts the current value. The DMA then puts the current value of its address register into the address bus. The DMA puts the current value of its address register into the address bus, initiates the RD, read or write signal, and sends a DMA acknowledge to the peripheral devices. Okay, peripheral devices. So when the peripheral devices receives a DMA acknowledge, it puts a word in the data bus for write, or receive a word from the data bus for read. So for each word that is transferred, the DMA increments its address register and decrements its word count register. If the word count register reaches 0, the word count register reaches 0, the DMA stops any further transfer and removes its bus request. So it is used. So it is used for fast transfer information between magnetic disk and memory. It is also useful for updating the display in an interactive terminal. Okay, so this is the explanation of the direct memory access. Next, coming to input output processor, IOP. So what is mean by input output processor? Input output processor may be classified as a processor with a direct memory access capability that communicates with input output devices. So in this configuration, the computer system can be divided into memory unit. In this computer system, in this configuration, the computer system can be divided into memory unit and number of processors, comprised of the CPU and one or more IOPs. So this is are the IOPs. IOPs input output processor. Okay, input output processor. So the each IOP takes care of input and each IOPs. IOPs means this is the IOPs. This is each IOPs take care of IOPs take care of input output tasks, relieving the CPU involved in input output transfers. The IOP means input output processor is similar to CPU except IOP is designed to handle the details of IOP processing. So unlike DMA, direct memory access controller, IOP must be set up entirely by the CPU. The IOP can fetch and executes its own instructions. So the IOP here, the IOP are having these IOP instructions are specially designed to facilitate IO transfer. IO means input output transfer. In addition, the IOP means input output processor can perform other processing tasks such as arithmetic, logic, branching, and code translation. Okay, so in this block diagram there are two processors, computer with two processors. Okay, what is the two processors? Central processing unit, one processor, input output processor, another processor. This is the computer with two processors is there. So the memory unit, this is the memory unit will occupies the central processing position. So this is memory unit occupies the central positioning. This memory unit will be occupied the central positioning, can communicate with each processors by mean of direct memory access. By mean of direct memory access, the CPU is responsible. The CPU is central processing unit is responsible for processing the data needed in the solution of computational tasks. So in order to solve the computational problems tasks, so the the input output processor provides a path for transfer the data between various peripheral devices and memory unit. In these peripheral devices, memory unit. So the data format, what are the data format of peripheral devices differ from memory. Whatever the peripheral devices have data, that is differ from memory and the CPU data formats. In this input output structures the data words from many different sources. So the IO input output processor must structures data words from many different sources. For example, it may be necessary to take 4 bytes from an input device and pack them into one 32-bit word before the transfer to memory. The sequence of operations may be carried out on this flow chart. Okay, this is the flow chart. Sequence of the operations may be carried in this flow chart. So this is the flow chart of the CPU and input output communication. So the CPU sends an, so how it works, here the CPU sends an instruction to test the CPU sends here see the CPU sends instruction to test IO path, So what will be CPU operations will be performed? It sends the instruction to test the IO path. So after that IO path, IO response. So at the side of the IO, input output processor operations. So how it responds? It responds by inserting a status, inserting a status in memory, for the CPU to check. So what it will be do? It will be response. The IOP responds to the CPU. So inserting the status word in the memory for the CPU to check the bits of the status. The bits of the status word indicate the condition. The bits of the status word indicates the conditions of the IOP and input output devices. The CPU refers to the status word. The CPU refers to the status word in the memory to decide what to do next. So if all is in order, the CPU sends the instruction. The CPU again sends the instructions to the instruction to start input output transfer. So the CPU can now continue with another program, another program, while the IOP is busy with an input output programs. Okay, so when the IOP terminates, will terminate, if the IOP will terminate with the execution of its program, it sends an interrupt request. Interrupt request to the CPU. The CPU responds to the interrupt by issuing an instructions instructions to read the status from the IOP. Okay, so the IOP responds by placing the content of its status report into a specified memory location. So the IOP takes care of all the data transfers between the several input output units and memory, while the CPU is processing another program. So the IOP and CPU are competing for the use of memory. So number of devices that can be operation is limited by the access time of the memory. So next, coming to the serial communication. So what is mean by serial communication? So in a serial communication, each bit in the message is sent in sequence one at a time. So this method requires the use of one pair of conductors and one pair of conductors or conductor and common ground. Okay, so it is having advantages. It is less expansive since it requires only one pair of conductors. So it is used for long distance. That is called the advantage. Disadvantage is serial transmission is lower. Okay, transmission is lower. So next, in this serial communication, I having three types. So between 2 points we have three different modes, that is a simplex, half duplex and full duplex. So this serial communication will be start in the next video class. Thank you for listening. Okay, thank you everyone.